Okay, welcome back. Today we're going to do another set of RBT exam practice questions. I think this is a great set of questions that covers a variety of topics and is going to challenge you to really help you gauge where you're at in your study process. So if you're enjoying my videos, please like and subscribe. That helps me out. Make sure you check out my new series where I'm going through a full RBT exam, question by question, and showing you how I think about it as a BCBA and how I think you should think about it. If you need study materials, check out our website, okay? Or check out one of these links, which I will put in the comments and descriptions below. Keep studying hard. A lot of people are passing recently, which is very exciting. If you're still studying, keep at it. Email me with questions, leave comments below. I'm happy to help. Okay, let's get into it. You just passed your RBT exam and want to celebrate. You text your friends to meet you at Las Palmas Mexican restaurant at 7 p.m. From 7 p.m. to 9 p.m., you drink 4 mango margaritas and take 2 tequila shots. Based on this information, what would be the best way to measure alcoholic beverages consumed during your time at the restaurant? Okay, so immediately we know this is a measurement question, right? So we're going to try to pick a measurement system. Okay, so they want to know, okay, alcoholic beverages consumed, right? So they want to know how many you consumed. What's the best way to measure how many or count? Well, when we say count or we say how many, immediately you should think of either frequency or rate. Okay, that's what immediately should come into your mind. So they want to know the best way to measure your alcoholic beverages consumed. What information do they give you? They give you a time frame, okay? And then they give you the total number of drinks. What do we know about total number, okay, or count in a time frame? Okay, that best represents what? That represents rate. Remember, rate is a frequency over time, okay? In this situation, they gave you a frequency, okay? You have 4 margaritas, 2 shots, you have 6 total drinks in a time frame, 2 hours, okay? So you have 6 drinks, okay, per 2 hours, or 3 drinks per hour. So the best way to measure alcoholic beverages consumed based on the information they gave you is rate, okay? Why is it not duration? Well, we're not asking how long you drank for, okay? We don't want to know how many, okay? Into response time, we don't want to know how long in between drinks you went, okay? We want to know how many drinks you had, okay? And then permanent product. Permanent product's a little tricky because you could say, well, I could come in at 9 p.m. and count how many glasses you had, right? But there's no guarantee all of the glasses will still be on the table, okay, at 9 p.m., right? They might have cleared the table, right? Or a variety of things could have happened where the product was removed, making it not permanent, okay? So the best answer based on the information given is rate. Remember, on the exam, that will give you enough information in the question to answer the question, okay? Use the information given to pick the best answer. All right, you just installed a home alarm system in your house. Each night when you go to bed, you set the alarm. You now have to turn off the alarm every morning when you wake up. Initially, you put a sticky note on your bedside table with a reminder to turn off the alarm. You then put the sticky note on the alarm keypad. Finally, you remove the sticky note altogether. What does this best represent? Is it task chaining, positive reinforcement, transfer of stimulus control, or establishing operation? So what are you doing, right? You're setting up prompts, right? You're setting up situations to remind you or to get you, right, to turn off your keypad, okay? So you put a sticky note on your bedside table so you immediately see it when you wake up. You then move it to the alarm keypad, okay? And then finally, you don't need it anymore, right? Because seeing the alarm keypad, okay, is enough to make you turn it off. So what are you essentially doing here? Well, you're essentially fading a prompt, right? Okay, you got a very immediate prompt on your bedside table, and then you fade it to just the alarm keypad, and then you remove it altogether, okay? So control is going from the sticky note on the bedside table to the sticky note on the alarm keypad, and then finally just to the alarm keypad, okay? So what are you doing? Well, you're transferring stimulus control, okay? This is a tricky concept for new RBTs to understand, right? But essentially all you're doing when you're transferring stimulus control, okay, is moving the prompt, fading the prompt, changing okay, what's evoking the behavior, okay? And that's what you're doing in this situation, right? You're trying to transfer the control of the sticky note, okay, which is evoking the behavior, okay? You're trying to transfer that to the alarm keypad, okay? Because you want just the alarm keypad to evoke turning off the alarm, okay? So why is it not task chaining? Well, you're not teaching a whole behavior, right? You're just doing one response, which is turning off the alarm. Now, if you were teaching, okay, how to enter the code, which might be a 5-digit code, right? That might be a chain because you need to enter it in a certain order, right? But for this behavior, you're just turning off the keypad. Positive reinforcement, no, right? Turning off the keypad is actually what? Negative reinforcement, okay? Because you're removing the alarm. What about establishing operation? No, you already want to turn off the alarm, okay? There's no sticky note doesn't make you want to turn off the alarm, right? You already want to when you wake up. You just have to remember to. Sticky note is simply a prompt, right? And so baiting that prompt is transferring stimulus control from the sticky note to the keypad. Tricky question, right? This is a tough concept, okay? So try to really understand it, but remember, stimulus control transfer is really just prompt fading. All right, graphing question. Again, don't get scared by the graphing questions, okay? They're not difficult. You can do it, okay? All you need to know is how to read a line graph and what a line graph is. So this question, how would you describe the trend of data for sessions 4 through 7? So the test might ask you about trend. They might ask you about variability. Okay, we covered variability in the last set of questions, 14. Okay, so what is trend? Trend is simply what direction is the data going? Is the data going up? Is the data going down? Or is there no trend, right? So is it increasing, decreasing, or is there no trend? So immediately you know D is out, okay, because that variable trend is not something we would say, okay? So let's ask about 4 through 7. Okay, what direction is the data in sessions 4 through 7? What direction is the data going? Well, from 4 to 5 it goes up. From 5 to 6 it goes down, and then 6 to 7 it goes up again. Okay, so can you definitively say there is a trend in the data? No, right? Because at first it's increasing, then it decreases, and then it increases again. Okay. Now, if that data was going, if that data went from 4 to 6 to 8 to 9, well, that's an increasing trend, right? And that line would be going straight up, okay? Now, if it was going from 8 to 6 to 3 to 2, then that would be decreasing, and that line would be going straight down, right? You need to look for a majority, right? Is the majority of the data increasing? Is the majority of the data decreasing? Or is it all over the place or flat? And in this case, right, it's all over the place. There's no clear trend, okay? And then same thing for sessions 1 through 3, okay? The data is just flat. There is no trend, okay? Graphing questions, very straightforward, very simple. Do a few of them, okay? And once you do a few, you'll quickly get the hang of it, and they shouldn't intimidate you. 2 months ago, you were able to extinguish your client's hand-biting behavior through extinction. The behavior was reinforced by escape. Today, out of nowhere, your client bites their hand. What is the best explanation for the reoccurrence of this behavior? All right, so very common situation, okay? A behavior goes away after extinction procedures, okay? And then all of a sudden, it comes back out of nowhere, okay? And it really can freak out the parents because they thought it was gone and now it's back, okay? So how would you explain this reoccurrence? A, this is most likely spontaneous recovery. Yes, right? This perfectly describes spontaneous recovery. Spontaneous recovery, okay, is the sudden reemergence or reoccurrence of a previously extinguished behavior, okay? That's exactly what happened here. When spontaneous recovery happens, you don't need to panic, okay? Just continue putting the behavior on extinction, and then it will decrease again, okay? So you can plan for spontaneous recovery, right? So that is what the situation is describing. What about B? The extinction was not effective the first time. Well, it was, right? The behavior went away for 2 months, okay? And all of a sudden it came back once, right? The extinction was very effective. It extinguished the behavior for quite a long time. Okay, so B is not right. C, the behavior was completely random and there is no explanation. Not at all, right? Behavior is not random. Okay, behavior is determined and there is a reason for behavior. Okay, so C is incorrect. D, the work today was harder than usual and the client became frustrated. We never attribute behavior to what? To hypothetical constructs, mentalisms, things like that. Okay, we don't say the client was frustrated, therefore the behavior happened. Okay, that doesn't explain the behavior. We can't measure, we can't observe frustration. Okay, so D is wrong. The answer is spontaneous recovery. It is a predictable reemergence in behavior, okay, for a previously extinguished or put on extinct behavior. All right, your client engages in spitting behavior where they will spit on the floor. This often occurs when the client is asked to clean up their room or sweep the floor. Spitting also occurs when the client is alone or engaged in a preferred activity like playing Nintendo Switch or watching Paw Patrol. What would the best hypothesis be regarding the function of the behavior based on this information? So they want you to play the role of RBT, where I'm your BCBA, your client is spitting, and I want to know, what do you think the function is? And you're going to be asked this a lot, okay? So get really good at hypothesizing your functions, okay? Because the first question I'll ask as a BCBA when a behavior happens is, what do you think the function is, okay? Because we want to know the function before we can intervene. So given your information, what do you think the function is here? All right. So what do we know? You know the client spits on the floor when given a demand. Okay, so first instinct might be escape, right? They're given a demand, they spit on the floor, okay, and they escape the demand. But it also occurs when they're alone or in an engaged preferred activity, right? So what does that tell you? Immediately when you know a behavior happens when a client is alone, okay, you automatically go to automatic reinforcement or you automatically go to automatic, okay, as the function, okay? Because what is automatic? It means nobody else, okay, is delivering reinforcement or delivering anything, right? It's happening just from the client alone, okay? So whenever a behavior occurs, right, when nobody else is alone, okay, you want to think automatic as the function, okay? And especially when they're engaged in a preferred activity. So they're not trying to gain access to anything, okay? And they're not trying to gain attention, right? So the answer here is automatic, okay? Now, if you don't understand this, okay, think about it like this, right? The behavior happens when they're given a task demand. The behavior happens when they have everything they want, okay? So they don't want attention or they don't want tangibles, okay? And the behavior happens when they're alone, okay? So the behavior occurs all the time, right? So the best hypothesis would be the behavior is automatic, okay? The client is essentially doing it because it's self-reinforcing, or they're doing it because it feels good to them, okay? So the answer here is D, automatic. The last 2 weeks, your client exhibited intense and tantrum behavior when they arrived at the clinic for drop-off in the morning. Today, the client's mom gave the client a bag of Skittles on the way to the clinic and told them, okay, now that you have Skittles, you have to behave when I drop you off. What did the parent do incorrectly? All right, so a very common situation where drop-off can be tough, okay? They have to leave parents, they have to go work, so behaviors can happen, okay? And the parent today said, I'm gonna intervene, right? And I'm gonna make this stop, okay? But what did they do incorrectly, if anything? A, nothing. They established a contingency with your client. All right, what's a contingency? A contingency is an if-then statement. If you do this, then you get this. What's the problem here? What did the parent do? The parent reversed it, right? They put the then first, which was if you behave, then you get Skittles. Instead, they gave them Skittles and then said, now you have to behave, okay? That's not how a contingency works, okay? The contingency is you need to work and then you earn the reward, okay? So A is wrong. B, the parent engaged in bribery instead of establishing a contingency. Yes, right? For exactly what we just talked about, okay? They gave the reinforcement first and then placed the demand, okay? So instead of if then, they did then if, right? So B is correct. Always read all answer choices because you're looking for the best. Okay, so let's see C. You should not only give one edible reinforcer at a time, so the client doesn't satiate on the reinforcer. That's not necessarily true. Okay, there's nothing wrong with giving a big edible reinforcer. Okay, if the time calls for it. D. The parent should have waited for your assistance before providing any reinforcement to the client. No, right? Ideally, okay, the parent should be well trained based on parent training. Okay, and shouldn't always require assistance from RBTs and BCBAs because we're not always going to be there. Okay, so ideally the parent should be able to provide appropriate reinforcement. Okay, without your assistance. So the answer here is the parent engaged in bribery, which we do not do. Okay, we don't bribe, right? We set up contingencies and then we reinforce. All right, your BCBA just added several targets to your client's programs list and updated the reinforcement schedule. You're unsure if you're implementing the reinforcement schedule correctly. When should you ask your BCBA for help? All right, so at what point, when you're confused and you're struggling, should you ask your BCBA for help? A, next time they are supervising you. That might be way too long, right? You might only see your supervisor twice a month. Okay, so if you have to wait 2 weeks, okay, to get your question answered, that could be 10 sessions where you're doing something incorrectly. So that is waiting too long. Okay, so A is wrong. B, next time you see them at the office. Again, you might never see them at the office. You might never go to the office, right? So B is wrong. You're waiting too long to ask for help. Okay. C, immediately, even if it is during session. Yes, right? So as soon as you're confused about programs, reinforcements, extinctions, behavior, really anything, okay, you need to ask immediately, okay, hey, how do I do this? Even if it's during session, send a text or tell the client, hey, I'm going to call my BCBA real quick. All right, whatever's easier. But before you move further, okay, especially with something like a reinforcement schedule, you need to clarify that you're doing it correctly. So the answer is C. What about D? Hold off for a few sessions to see if you can figure it out yourself. No, right? I mean, I'm sure you're capable. We're sure you're competent, right? But we want to be sure here, right? You don't want to be reinforcing the wrong thing or delivering reinforcement incorrectly, okay? So whenever you need help, right, as soon as you can, immediately ask for assistance. You want to teach your client how to ride a bike, but you want to use the least amount of physical prompting necessary to teach the skills. What prompt strategy would best fit the scenario? Is it most to least prompting, least to most prompting, delayed prompting, or graduated guidance? So there's a dead giveaway here in this question, okay? Because there's a few, right, that might look okay, right? Least to most might look okay because in least to most, you want to use as few artificial prompts as possible, right? You want to prompt as little as you need to teach the skill. However, the giveaway in this question is the word what? The word physical, okay? When we're talking about physical prompting, okay, and using the least amount of physical prompting, we're talking about a very specific intervention, okay, called graduated guidance, right? Graduated guidance, okay, is using as little physical prompting as needed to teach a skill. So basically during graduated guidance, okay, you start with as little physical contact as you can, okay, and then you gradually increase the amount of physical prompting you're doing, okay, until the necessary amount to teach the skill, okay? So I might start by my hands are just touching your elbows, okay? And then I might touch your arms, and then I might full physically prompt you, okay? So I'm gradually guiding you as much as necessary, okay? So the dead giveaway here is physical prompting. And when we talk about, least to most physical prompting, we are talking about something like graduated guidance. All right, which of the following reasons indicate why you should always use reinforcement instead of punishment whenever possible? Okay, so the rule in ABA, okay, is you start with reinforcement, okay, and you exhaust all reinforcement options, okay, before using punishment. Why is that? A, punishment is not permanent, Once punishment is stopped, behavior will return to its original rate and sometimes increase. Yes, right? This is one of my primary reasons, or how I explain to parents, okay, as a BCBA, why we don't use punishment first off, because punishment is not permanent. If you're using punishment and to decrease the behavior, okay, you have to keep doing punishment forever, okay? Because once the punishment stops, that behavior, okay, is going to return to its original rate. So that could start a very bad cycle where now you have to do punishment every single time, okay? And there's no way to fade it, okay? So A is correct. B, using punishment may negatively reinforce the person delivering punishment. Yes, right? Think about it, okay? Your child is crying, right? So a parent punishes them, the crying stops. What happens? The parent was negatively reinforced, right? The crying went away, okay? Thus increasing the likelihood the parent continues delivering punishment in the future, okay? So yes, B is correct. C, punishment does not teach a replacement behavior by itself. Yes, right? The great thing about reinforcement is it teaches the client what they should be doing, okay? Because when we're reinforcing, we're increasing behavior, okay? Punishment is simply decreasing a behavior, okay? And without additional interventions, right, we're not teaching anything in its place. Remember the fair pair rule, okay? If you remove a behavior, if you decrease a behavior, all right, you need to add or increase a different behavior, okay? All behaviors have functions. Therefore, if we take away a behavior, we need to teach an appropriate behavior to reach that same function. And punishment does not teach replacement behaviors. So the answer here is D, all of the above. All of these are reasons, okay, why you should always use reinforcement first instead of punishment. Okay, a brand new coffee shop opened down the street from where you work. Every morning you drove to the coffee shop, ordered a medium iced coffee with almond milk, and then headed to work. Today you drove to the coffee shop, placed your order, but was informed that the coffee shop didn't have almond milk. This happened the next 3 times you went, so you stopped going to the coffee shop. What best describes what happened in this scenario? You might have ran into this before, right? You have your favorite restaurant or your favorite coffee shop, and you get the same thing every time you go, and this time you went and they were out, okay? Well, you're not going to stop going altogether, okay, especially if it's established. But if the next 3 times you go, okay, they continue to be out, well, what happened? You stop being reinforced for going to that restaurant, okay? So what does that describe? Is it negative reinforcement? No, okay? Be careful about that word negative, okay? What does reinforcement mean? Reinforcement means increase, okay? The behavior increases. What happened here? Your behavior decreased, okay? So A is out. B, extinction. What happened, right? You go to the coffee shop, you get almond milk, you're reinforced. You go to the coffee shop, you get almond milk, you're reinforced. This time you go to the coffee shop, you don't get almond milk, you're not reinforced. So your previously reinforced behavior is no longer reinforced, which describes what? Extinction, okay? So the answer here is B, extinction. Great example of extinction, okay? Really understand this question. Now, what about punishments? Well, are you being punished in this scenario, okay? Is anything added or taken away, right, that is punishing you, okay? No, right? There's no reinforcement available, right? The almond milk's not available. It's not like they gave you the almond milk and then took it away from you, okay? Or it's not like they're insulting you when you get to the window, okay? And your behavior is decreasing that reason, okay? Simply reinforcement is no longer available for your behavior, okay? And that describes extinction. A previously reinforced behavior is no longer reinforced. Okay, I hope you enjoyed it. Continue studying hard. Continue giving me your questions, okay? I'm really happy for those of you who passed, okay? If you haven't, you're gonna get there. Keep at it, all right? As always, if you need study materials, I'll put the links below, okay? Like and subscribe, and I will be back Friday with more videos. Study hard.